Hey guys, it's Chris here. And there's a lot of great debates that are really a lot of fun to have with your friends. Is baking two lasagnas and putting one lasagna on top of the other lasagna a really tall lasagna, or is it a lasagna on top of a lasagna? In fact, comment and answer that question in the comments. I really want to know. It will help me solve a debate that I've been having with Nicole for several hours right now. That's a great debate, and there's another great debate, especially when it comes to Amazon, and that's whether or not you can sell books as new. Now, let's talk about this because I think that it's very important to understand why it's an awful idea to sell books as new. So, sometimes when you're dealing with Amazon, we have two different sets of rules. We have what is Amazon telling us, and what is good practical information. So for instance, let me give you a rule that doesn't exist on Amazon. Did you know that there's no expiration date guideline for merchant fulfilled grocery on Amazon? Go ahead, look it up. It doesn't exist. But, if I send out groceries that expire the next day, am I technically violating the terms of service? Probably not. In fact, it does say that you can't sell expired food on Amazon, so it's actually pretty vague. I don't know whether or not I could send out groceries that expire tomorrow, today. I don't know. It's vague. But, I don't want to live in the gray area of Amazon. I value my Amazon account. So, I have my own set of rules for sending in groceries, merchant fulfilled, and I stick with them. By the way, my rules is at least 90 days, usually more. Unless it's a specialty food item, like, for instance, when people were selling the Patty LaBelle sweet potato pies, those only had a couple weeks on them, but people weren't expecting any more than that, so that was fine, and I didn't personally sell them, but if they did come up now that I would sell them with a couple weeks on the expiration, it's fine. Now, that being said, selling books as new on Amazon kind of falls into the kind of gray area a little bit, but also Amazon has some pretty definitive answers to this. So let's dive into this because I think I can answer this question, end this debate once and for all. Let's put an end to this. Now, before I go into what Amazon has to say, let me talk about my experience with textbooks. I got started selling in 2014, so that's about 7 years ago. It's been a pretty good ride so far. Now, I stopped selling textbooks right around 2017. I looked in Inventory Lab. That's the last time I really sold any books, and I'll sell a book every now and then. Now, when I sold textbooks, I actually did a really good job with these, and I made a lot of money from them. So, a couple things that I did, and I'm going to tell you these strategies because guess what? They don't work anymore. So, you're not going to be able to replicate these, but, maybe you can try if you want to. So I actually have a liquidator nearby me that buys Amazon pallets. So he buys 2 to 3 truckloads a week from Amazon of Amazon returns. And one of the things that he discovered was that a lot of his returns were books. And the reason that they do that is Amazon does sell books, and a lot of books. In fact, Amazon started as a bookstore, so the very first items sold on Amazon were books. They add this because in some of these liquidation loads, there's a weight minimum, and textbooks, or books in general, are real heavy. So it's really easy for them to bulk up the weight and, not just sell iPhone 4 cases, they can actually throw in some books there. Now, he doesn't really have an outlet to sell books, so I used to buy them from him. And if somebody's getting, 50 to 75 pallets a week of returns, I was actually getting a crap load of books this way. And a lot of them were garbage. I'll just tell you that right off the bat. A lot of them were self-published. A lot of them were just trash. But there was enough there that it was definitely worth it for me. And I paid this guy $100 a pallet, which is also called a Gaylord. And these would have been classified, if you're a bookseller, as an unsearched Gaylord. A Gaylord being a pallet with cardboard on the side. So, and I did really well with them, okay? And I sold those for a long time. I also had an auctioneer that I worked with, and he also did Amazon returns, and he would sell me textbooks by the pallet, just like that. It was before I had a cargo van, so I'd throw them all in the back of my Passat. It was great. Then I started buying books from Goodwill, and also worked really, really well. I made a crap load of money. I'm not that far from State College, Pennsylvania, so I also worked with some people that worked at the college bookstore, and I kind of figured out when they were throwing books out in the trash and paid them a few bucks to be able to get those books. I sold a lot of stuff like law reference books, just college reference books. It was a really good market, okay? And I'll be honest, a lot of people out there, when they talk about, oh, I started Amazon with $100, what they leave out is that they also had a lot of textbooks to sell, and I also had a lot of textbooks to sell from my unsuccessful mechanical engineer going to college career, I guess you would say. And, I sold textbooks for friends and stuff like that, so, it worked pretty well. Now, I stopped doing it for a number of reasons. And I'm going to link to a bunch of articles in the comments of this video because there's a lot of stuff you should read. And when I was reading these, I got scared off of selling textbooks. And Amazon really does tell us stuff. So let's talk about why I stopped. And this here is a perfect example of why I stopped selling textbooks. These are two identical textbooks. One's counterfeit, one's not. This one's counterfeit, this one's not. Can you tell? They look identical, okay? But this one, if I crack open the pages on it, and by the way, this is minty. Oh, I don't know if you can hear it in the audio, but I'm cracking that spine. It's got that new book smell. But also, the pages look like Bible pages. And the book itself has no structure whatsoever. Okay, I can bend this just like it's a stack of paper. Okay, this is hardly a book. In fact, I just broke the spine on it. This is the real deal. Now, it's a little tricky to tell here, but this is about 35% or 33 to 50% thicker than the other one. The pages are much thicker. So when I'm talking about the thin pages, this book looks like a Bible inside. If you ever see like a Bible where you can read both sides of the pages, this has much, much better printing. The printing is better. The paper is much thicker and higher quality, and I cannot bend this, okay? So here's the problem with this. I know how to tell the textbook is counterfeit, okay? But this book here, this makes it very hard to tell. In fact, I wouldn't know that this was counterfeit, okay? I would not know that this was a counterfeit book unless I would have also gotten the same book at the same time, okay? I'd have no idea, and I would have sold a counterfeit book, okay? So now I keep this as like my reference of counterfeit books. Now, I happen to get this from a college bookstore, people, okay? That's the problem with this. Now, and that's what people don't realize, okay? It is so easy to accidentally get a counterfeit textbook. Now, let's step back, okay? And again, we're going to get to what Amazon actually has to say, but this is just the practical reason why I got out of selling textbooks. I walked away from a lot of money because I valued my Amazon account more than I valued this money. And this was a lot of money. Now, the other thing was, I started doing online arbitrage for textbooks. So I don't know how this really works anymore, but I used to buy Amazon to Amazon flips for textbooks. So it's really common to go on Amazon, and I found several suppliers that, by several I mean several dozen suppliers, that were selling textbooks for a penny plus shipping. So they basically, now this is kind of something that doesn't quite work anymore, but they were like $4.98, I think was the total cost on them. And a lot of times what I was doing was I was buying these $4.98 merchant fulfilled, flipping them up to $25, because at $25 at the time you got free shipping from Amazon whether or not you had Prime or not. So by doing that, people that needed the book in a couple days would pay a lot extra from me for FBA. And this worked really, really well. I made a lot of money from this, like hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of money from this. But I walked away because I started to see counterfeits show up. And again, I'm going to link in the description here some lawsuits that happened where people lost their Amazon accounts. We're going to come to that later, but that's why I got out of it. We're going to talk about that later in the video. Now, let's start by what does Amazon have to say. Now, one of the things that's important as an Amazon seller is listen to what Amazon has to say. sometimes Amazon tells us exactly what they want. And this is definitely the case of that. I actually have a brand new book right here that I bought, not for the video, but I just bought it. Now, I did open it beforehand in the video just to make sure that it was nice and minty fresh. But really, this was brand new when I bought it. Guess what? This book is not new right now. Condition guidelines. Let's look at them. And I'll put a link in the video. Condition guidelines for a brand new book. Brand new copy with cover and original protective covering intact. This does not have protective covering. I don't think it ever did, but the cover is intact. Books with markings of any kind, like cover on pages, books marked as bargain or remainder, they may not be listed as new. So a remainder mark is a little line that's on the top of the book. It indicates that this is a remainder mark. Or that's called a remainder mark. It destroys the book. And this, by the way, is a great book. Small Time Operator. It's a great business accounting kind of basics book. I would really, really recommend this if you are unfamiliar with accounting. I actually gave my copy to a new Amazon seller and had to buy myself a new copy of it. Now, I just read the new condition guidelines. Let's read the like new condition guidelines. Like new. May have minor cosmetic defects. Well, again, I just got this book in the mail. This is minor cosmetic defects. Okay, right there. This has been banged against something, and there's a big dent in it. Okay? Well, this isn't new, guys. Yes, I literally just opened it out of the envelope, new from Amazon, and this is not new. That's very important. Marks where cuts, bends, and crushes on the cover. So this is now, at best, like new. And again, I just bought this. Okay? Dust cover is intact, pages are clean, and not marred by notes. Now, here's the thing. Let's say that the outside of this was perfect. The first thing that I would do to say, okay, is this book new? Is I would open it. Guess what? I just cracked the spine of the book. It's not new anymore. Okay? As soon as you open a book, it's not new. So, in order to check the book to make sure whether or not it's new or not, you just made it not new. That's in the guidelines. That's what Amazon is telling us. The end of video, guys. Okay? You can't sell this book as new despite the fact that it's new. Now, if you're out there and you're saying to me, well, Chris, what if it's in a protective cover? Well, here's a book. This isn't a protective cover. This book isn't new either. Do you know why it's not new? Because I put it in a protective cover. This is heat shrink. I did this. I put it in this piece of plastic here to demonstrate that a lot of times when you get into buying and selling used books, you're going to get books that are in a protective sleeve like this or protective cover. You'd probably look at this and say, yeah, this is new. It's not new. Could open this up. There's actually marking in here. I looked for a newish looking book because this does look new, okay? Now, this, you're probably thinking to yourself, well, that's ridiculous. Like, no, who does that? Goodwill does this a lot. College bookstores do this a lot. It's not uncommon to go to a college bookstore and find a book that looks brand new because it's got this nice cover on it, but you open it up, it's all marked up. I've found those books, okay? This is just like a video game, okay? With video games, you will very often see this kind of like shrink wrap look. And I mean, this isn't the best shrink wrap job in the world, but this is what it would look like if it was shrink wrap from the publisher. And just like with video games, okay? You can get a video game, you can walk into GameStop and say, oh, hey, here's this brand new video game. You open it up and it's sealed, it's got, the plastic on the outside. You crack that bad boy open, disc is scratched. Why? Because they put the sealing on, or the wrap on used games or returned games. So it's not a new game, even though it's got the plastic on it. And then you're like, well, I bought it from GameStop and they said it was new. Guess what? Amazon doesn't give a shit. Okay? It's used. Okay? And here's the thing. You're probably thinking to myself, Chris, you're being real anal about these conditions. Yeah, I am. And there's a reason. Amazon book buyers are really very, very condition bound. Okay? They very much put a lot into the condition of a book. So, if I send out a book even if this would have left my hand brand new, and it got to the customer and it had this dent in the book, in the cover, and it's right here, like I can barely see it, but that makes it not new. This got damaged in the mail. It's not new anymore. This is a used like new claim waiting to happen. Do you value your Amazon account or do you not value your Amazon account? That's the question you need to answer. Okay, I value my account, so I would not sell this. And I would never sell a book as new. So, let's talk about some off Amazon influences that should really scare the shit out of you about selling a book as new. Okay guys, so let's talk about some off Amazon influences. These are not part of the terms of service. I can't pull them up and show them to you, but a lot of these are things that happen outside the Amazon space that very much affect you if you try to sell textbooks. And let's start with Miss Clara Dufour. Now, Miss Clara Dufour is probably a fake person. But if you ever sold a textbook to that person, it went to a facility that was like one of those rental offices. It's across the street from an Amazon fulfillment center in Seattle. Now, I don't know that Amazon has anything to do with that, but it looks like they bought about 20 textbooks or maybe more and suspended everybody that they bought a textbook from, whether or not it was counterfeit or not. All of this, of course, is allegedly. I can't prove any of it, but I did put a link to a news article from CNBC in the descriptions of the video. And I mean, yeah, maybe CNBC is fake news, but I would believe this article. Now, that means that Amazon is allegedly buying textbooks from their own sellers and allegedly suspending them. Now, why is that? That's a great question. Well, textbooks are allegedly a huge scam, okay? Keep something in mind. When I go to school, you know, you go to college, you get your textbooks that you need to buy, you get your list from the professor. Well, your school makes money on those. They don't just make money from your tuition. So the fact that Amazon exists and sells textbooks is a real thorn in the side of these colleges and textbook manufacturers. They all make money on this. So by cutting us out, the third-party market, which levels the price, you know, we do that arbitrage thing where we move from low to high prices and then blah, blah, blah. We've all done Amazon before. By doing that and eliminating us, they can jack up the price of textbooks. That's why, again, we need to listen to what Amazon is telling us and what these publishers are telling us, because this is very important. That's why you see a lot of one-time use codes now in textbooks. So you can buy a textbook and it's got a big online element to it, and you have to use that for your class, and the code is one-time use. So that effectively makes the textbook worthless unless you have the code. And the code is as much as the textbook, so there's no point in selling the used textbook because it's worthless. And it's pretty slick. But this is what they don't want us to be doing. Now, there have been several publishers, and I'm going to name a couple here, that have allegedly gone after Amazon sellers. That is Sengen, Elsire, Macmillan, McGraw-Hill, and one that I'm not even going to mention in this video out of, I don't want to get sued, but I will just say that Appleson, Tomatoson, some sort of fruitson, I don't know. But they have really gone after a lot of sellers. In fact, they have hired a huge law firm called Oppenheim and Zebrick, I think that's how it's pronounced, and they are notorious also for buying textbooks from Amazon sellers and then claiming that they're counterfeit. Allegedly. So the thing about it's this. These publishers don't want us to sell these. So you're fighting an uphill battle with them. And don't get me wrong, I love to fight a good uphill battle. But do I really want to risk my Amazon account proving a moral stance? Listen, I would rather be wealthy and not sell textbooks than be broke and say, yeah, well, that publisher allegedly got me suspended off Amazon. It's just not worth it, guys, to sell these as new. Now, if you sell textbooks as used, you do still run risks. And that's why I don't sell textbooks anymore. I think that they are a junk product to sell. I know that there's tons of people that sell them, and I know that I'm going to get comments of people saying, well, I sell them, and it's been fine for me. But again, everybody's risk tolerance is different. I don't like the risk of textbooks. So I don't sell them on Amazon anymore. That doesn't mean I don't sell them. I go on eBay with them. Okay? Because I don't care if I lose my eBay account. It's pretty much worthless. I can make a new eBay account like that. But a new Amazon account, that's kind of tricky. So I don't want to go on Amazon with these. And I don't. Okay? I do pretty okay selling them on eBay. Now, in the comments here, or in the notes on the video, I put a link to all the articles that talk about lawsuits that happen. I don't really want to dive into them that much in this video because I could probably make a video about each one of the lawsuits. But look it up. I got some links here from MSNBC, Financial Times, Brigham Young University. There's a lot of good information out there, and you should read these before you make this decision. So if somebody comes along and says, yeah, you can sell textbooks as new, read the Amazon condition guidelines and consider what I said about these, because I don't think that you can sell these as new according to the Amazon condition guidelines. So that blows that right out of the water. But I also don't think it's worth the hassle to try to. And that makes it just doubly not worth it. Don't violate the TOS and don't get sued. You know, if you can end your night not getting sued, you had a pretty good night. So anyway, guys, I really hope that this was helpful. I hope that this adds some perspective to this debate as to whether or not you can sell textbooks as new. You know, I'm not the definitive expert when it comes to textbooks, that's for sure. There's plenty of people that sell a lot more textbooks than I do and sell textbooks more currently. But I am looking at what Amazon is saying, and they're pretty clear about this. So, you know, proceed with caution. Anyway, guys, it was great making this video. Hopefully I don't get sued for mentioning these companies and all that stuff. But I hope that this video was informative. I hope you make a lot of money. But consider maybe textbooks aren't really worth it. Anyway, guys, have a great night, and talk to you later. Bye-bye.